Should we sing our scales to warm up?
Yes.
That is always a good way.
You know, we've got a lot of history here, so it's obvious what we're going to talk about, but I have a question for each of you.
Is it hard?
We'll see.
Okay.
What I'm wondering, and it's a different question for each of you.
Oh, man.
Nancy, I know you're heading to the beach.
Yeah.
Do you prefer, if you had two choices, seaside or sea cove
Oh,
to spend the day?
seaside or sea cove? Mm-hmm. Cove meaning like, help me picture this.
You go in on the inlet.
Oh, yeah. I think I'd choose the seaside.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I feel like there's more action there. You know, and I
Okay.
kind of like to watch everybody doing everything.
Okay.
And stay in my own little, read a book or. But then you feel like the world is just moving and it's fun to watch.
All right.
Hope
Yeah.
my question's that easy.
Coffee or pour over?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, for Rebecca, that's a hard one.
It depends on how much time I have. I think I would prefer the pour over.
Okay. Okay. Now, answer the other person's question.
Oh,
Coffee or pour over?
well,
Seaside or sea cove?
I'm not, a coffee snob. Sorry, Rebecca. Sorry. But so the pour overs sound nice, but in theory, I don't think I can appreciate them as much as some people do. I don't think I can taste all those distinctive notes like other people do. You know, when you see coffee and it says like notes of chocolate, and you're like, I don't think so.
It's good. Yeah, I'm
It's
I'm
good,
I'm the same.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that this is what you wanted it to come out as, because I'm a sea cove.
Sea cove.
Sea cove.
Okay.
Why?
Just being more secluded. I don't want the distractions of all the other people and other beachgoers, and it's a little slower pace.
Yeah.
Well, how is this related to history?
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
enlighten us.
Because we talk to people all the time about, they're like, well, I need a social studies credit.
Yeah.
Well, are you going the social studies or are you going
Yeah.
the history,
History,
route? And what's the difference between those?
Yeah.
And there's some variables within
Yes.
each one of those, right? And like you can tweak your history if you want, right? And so if you were, here's another off the fly question. What's the difference between social studies and history?
That is a weighted question.
Yeah.
We can talk about that for a
this,
while.
I'm sorry.
We could talk about that.
I'm
for a
gonna let
while.
you answer that one because you have just had to answer that in a video that we're doing.
Yeah, so there will become a history workshop video that will be coming out soon that answers that question in the history of
And
history
you've been
section.
finally tuning it.
And finally tuning
so,
it.
yeah, it's coming out soon.
Yes, there's this understanding that the purists of history is the timelines.
Yeah.
They're putting historical facts in chronological order.
Okay.
And people go along with that. So the people that are the cause and effects of people's actions in chronological order. Whereas in social studies is this kind of behemoth view of history.
It's like an umbrella that all
Yes.
these different subcategories.
You're looking at the
fit
culture.
under.
You're looking
Yeah.
at
Okay.
even sometimes the economics of cultures, and so
right,
it's
yeah.
it's a larger look at society really, and how we can learn from society to be better citizens.
And sometimes the social studies is more in the lower grades often, as they're
Finding-
looking
Yeah.
at themselves and their community and then going out
Yeah,
from there,
right.
right?
Finding their place. In,
Yeah.
Hey, I
in
like
their
that.
world. Yeah.
That's a good way to put
Yeah.
that. What we've got here falls under mostly what we would say history. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's looking at chronology, right? Although we've got an American here, so that's separating it out, right?
And I'm glad you brought that up because I do think it would be a good thing for people to know when this video comes out, it will really help you to think through the most important factors that you would want to consider if you're trying to decide on a social studies or a history curriculum because it does feel overwhelming. There are so many wonderful programs out there and it's like, how do I make a decision?
So you can add a dash of cream or some,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Or you need to go into the cove on the seaside
Yeah.
instead of get it where the action is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Everybody's
there's all
got a
these
little
choices.
different way to present it.
It made sense in
works.
my brain. I don't know if it
I
makes
was
sense in your
wondering where
brain.
you were going there for a minute, but
It works.
Yeah, and so we've got a new old thing.
Yes.
This is really
I've been
great.
so excited
Yes.
love this.
about this.
Mystery of History has been around for a long time, so I used it.
I did too.
Until
it.
my kids aged out before the rest of us.
But we
was
used it
written.
back when it was softcover.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that was when everything you had to keep rebuying, and so the hardcover book comes with a
Digital.
digital
Companion, right.
and now we have a print version of that
Yay.
because
Yes, for volume
there-
4. We've been waiting for
Some
volume
people
4.
don't want to print out 300 pages.
well, this is 781
Is
pages.
it really
That's a lot
that
of
many?
Yeah,
Oh my
there's
goodness.
so much here, and it's organized by different age groups. You
Which
wanna talk about
781
that?
pages sounds overwhelming.
Yeah.
But they do such a nice job of organizing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
if you're on lesson 25, it's all laid out for you.
Yeah.
So you just flip to the corresponding
Well,
lesson.
and you're not utilizing every single activity laid out.
Exactly.
Because
That's
you
right.
might have
all you do.
Yeah, you might have a student that's far beyond, a coloring page,
Right.
or a student who's not ready for critical thinking
Exactly.
questions.
Well, I'm just picking this up and looking at this. I haven't
Okay.
seen this till now, but I
Okay,
love this.
drum
So,
roll.
yeah. Well, so this one's on the fall of the Alamo and the Texas War of Independence, and some of your options. So they fall into 3 nice categories. You've always got the younger students, and then younger and middle, and then sometimes just middle, and then older. So you can really
4 different
choose.
groups.
Tailor it to your students.
You can very easily tailor it. It's not hard to look at this quickly and go, oh, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. So some of the things, younger and middle, Davy Crockett and his coonskin cap. And it talks about that, and then you can make one. And it gives you an easy option for how to do that with glue and paper.
Is it coon or non-coon?
Non-cool.
The vegetarian wants to know. Okay.
And then middle students are learning about a Bowie knife. Is that how you say it? Yeah, Bowie knife.
Sure.
And then you learn a story about that, the man who made it, when it was used,
Very
what became
cool.
of it. Yeah.
Very cool.
just neat little interactive
Yeah.
stories and activities.
Younger kids are making a Lone Star flag, learning about that. Ooh, Texas-shaped treats.
So the 3
Yeah, doesn't that
yeah,
sound fun?
we're hungry.
Yeah.
So the 3 lessons you're doing each week then can be further elaborated, but they're also always doing a timeline and
Yes.
always doing a review of the key points,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
they're making a timeline book. I've got a different timeline book right here.
Okay.
But let's
see
what
what
do
you got.
Another
Rebecca?
activity, yeah, so the one here, I just came across the middle students. What lesson are we? We're in week 21,
Okay.
the Impressionists, maybe.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And so this one is actually, it's a game. It's a secret code game for
fun.
2 or more players.
Okay.
And so they are kind of coming up with their own secret language.
Oh, that
And then
sounds
they have
like
to
something kids
write
would love.
messages to each other and decipher messages.
Ooh. Are you using like secret ink or something?
I'm sure you could easily use some sort of invisible
fun.
ink
Yeah,
or something
So
like
they're
that.
incorporating across the curriculum different skills.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I love that because you know what? How many of us, we talk about this in our video, went through history in school and we're like, do I have to do this? You know, I mean,
Another day, another dead person.
and really, I mean, to a kid, history is history. Was it 100 years ago? Was it 1,000 years ago? I don't
Yeah.
care. It's all history, you know?
Right.
And so for them to make it relatable, to
Yeah.
let them kind of immerse themselves in experiences that let them feel
Yeah.
history and smell history and see history.
Yeah.
Then they go, oh, I can make that connection to the story, and I'm hearing an engaging story. I love Mystery of History for that reason. Story
Yeah.
of the World is great. There's a lot of them that do that.
Yeah.
Pull you into the story, you're part of it. And all of a sudden now you can envision those events happening
Yeah.
versus reading a dry and boring
Yeah.
textbook like many of us did when we
Yeah,
were
and
kids.
I found that kind of funny when I was reading our e-news this week. Gina wrote a fantastic article
Oh, she
directed
did.
to moms and just some encouragement to them. But she pinpointed in there how when she was learning history, she didn't really like it.
Yeah.
But then when she got to teach history to her kids, it took on a new life.
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
that seems to be the story a lot.
We hear it over and over.
Yeah, coming
And
with
so
history.
you see that theme. Very few, parents seemed to love it when they were kids.
We talked about how this one does that interweaving of skills,
Yeah.
and I was working on updating a language arts description and studying it for a catalog that's coming out soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Cottage Press, and one of the things they recommend is their own timeline as they're reading through
Of
these.
centuries.
Yeah, and so this one's just a format for you, straight lines.
Yeah, that's
and-
nice. I like
and then the time period. One unique thing about this, it just looks like space, right? But then at the very beginning, we have in the beginning, and then we also have men began to multiply. So you're getting into some biblical history here, which is what Mystery of History does. It says that
would make a good
history is
companion.
his story,
yes.
and that's
I love
why the logo has the cross there, because it's all the story of Jesus. And so we've got the flood of water.
I like
that kind of
this
thing.
because, having a timeline in a book, because timelines, I mean, if you really want to put it in your home,
Yeah.
Need some
linear
wall
lines.
space.
We did that when my kids were younger. We had it in our dining room, and instead of being able to go around and around, I just kind of went underneath. But we were
Yeah.
watching a home video recently, and Caleb was like, "Mom, I forgot we had that whole timeline thing going on.
Yeah.
It took up our whole 2 dining room walls." So I love this because it's like
Yeah.
you've got it
And
all.
each child is in charge of their own
in a
with
book.
this
How
idea.
neat would it be to be able to
Take it with you
see
someday.
each of your kids and how they are
Yes.
seeing history,
Making it
and interacting
personable.
with history.
I've
for
actually
them.
been to homeschool graduations where they bring their timeline. They're
Oh,
so
that's
proud of it,
cool. I love
that they
that.
got through all of history.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
that's their badge of honor and all the things
Yeah.
they did.
Yes.
That's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
The personal idea is nice too because every kid's going to have different experiences that they
Yeah.
can put on their timeline. They might go on
They're
a
gonna
trip
see it
and
differently,
see
too.
something, and so
Yeah.
then they can record what's important to them.
And
Maybe they
whether
watched a movie
You
that
call it
connects
social studies or history, it's still going to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
applicable, right?
Yeah. Love it.
The idea of working through a 700-page companion guide might not appeal to everybody, but you have something that's kind of quick, Nancy.
Yes,
that,
yes.
is also just really good content.
This is really good. Yes, the classical historian has a 75 key lessons in history.
like that.
Hey.
And this is actually
Nice.
recommended by what is that national history competition? I think it's called Great History Challenge, if I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly. And they
Okay.
recommend this book as an
Not
option.
aware of that.
What's really nice about this is that it is comprehensive and that it is covering such a broad range of from the beginning of time until modern day. It covers American history very well.
In 75 lessons.
In 75 lessons.
Oh, I like that,
So
though.
you're
You
getting,
get a good overview,
You're
right?
getting a
And then you
great
can
overview.
zoom in, maybe?
Yes, and then so it's comprehensive in that way. But it's also distilling core ideas out of
Oh,
like what's the
good.
most important things you
Mm-hmm.
really want to know about that, and giving you that. So you're eliminating a lot of the fluff and the stuff, which can be fun to read with history. But this is more if you want a very succinct history
Mm-hmm.
of the world quickly. It's wonderful.
I would call it like a get her done kind of
I
project.
get her done. I like that.
That's
yeah.
very Midwest. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
and I was going to say too, it's got games in it that are recommended, which are really fun. I mean, games are a great way to learn.
And this is
Oh,
the same publisher
didn't know
that
that.
has those history Go Fish cards,
right,
aren't they?
that's
yes,
right,
I
yes.
love those Go Fish
they,
cards.
they do have some neat packaged games already.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they use some of those ideas in here, and you're taking this information and you're just playing different games to help kind of drill it and learn it.
Yeah.
So it'd be great for a co-op if you had a history
Yeah.
co-op. And because it covers all the time periods, no matter what you're studying, pull out some
Yeah.
games and use
Yeah,
those. It's
like
really
that
nice.
idea.
It's also just a good reference to have on your shelf
Yeah.
if you want something that you can go to quickly. Like I need to know what happened here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Gives you context.
It
for
does.
the
Yeah,
situation.
it's really
I think you
good.
could also use it, as you're kind of just perusing or cruising through history
Yeah.
in that book.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, your kids might show a huge interest
Right.
in
Yes.
like
Then you can zoom
ancient
in.
Yes.
Egypt or American
Right.
history or
Yes.
Greek and Roman history, and so then you
Yeah.
kind of have an idea of where to go to the following year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also thought about it for those of us parents who felt like we did go through history, got good grades or didn't get good grades either way, and didn't enjoy it and didn't
Yeah.
retain anything. So then here we
a
are
nice
teaching our
resource for
kids and we're
you.
like, I'm learning this for the first time. Like,
It's a secret.
I don't remember this. So honestly, such a great way to just have a complete view of history very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good for parents that didn't really remember a lot from the first
Yeah.
one.
Then we got this thing, gigantic.
Love this
Yes.
too.
Their pile just keeps getting taller and taller.
This
Yeah.
is Humanitas, right?
Humanitas.
Humanitas.
Yes.
This
Okay.
one is book 2,
You want me to hold one?
and here's book 1
I
of
love
just
these.
ancient Greece.
Okay.
And so they're adding to this. They're planning to
Yeah.
make it a 4-year program.
They
correct?
are. Yes, they are.
And it is. I love it because it's primary source documents.
I know they're so.
I love primary source documents.
And they
think
made the
it's so
primary
helpful.
source documents approachable.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that word scares people. It's like, oh, that's a great idea to study those primary sources. Let's go to the Constitution. Let's go to the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
But
But
where
now,
do I get
like,
that?
here's some ancient Greek primary sources.
Exactly.
And that
No
seems
way.
daunting.
Yes.
But so it takes a very classical approach in the chronological
Yeah, let's open it up
aspect
and-
of it.
And we've got another video where we talk more in depth
More
about
in depth,
this, right?
I think we did.
But
yeah.
they keep
But-
adding on.
Yeah,
so
the,
we've
Greek,
got brand
the
new
Greece
stuff.
and Rome were newish, kind of maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'll plan on doing 2 more levels.
Yes, so this is
it.
level 1. They came out with level 3, which was American already, and next will be level 2.
Okay.
So that will
Which
be
would be medieval.
medieval.
Okay.
Right.
And it's really nice because in the center of the page is the primary source document. It's always in that, little bit darker color.
Yeah.
And then around it is all of the annotations,
Yes, I
the
love
background
that.
information. And it also updates the archaic language just enough that you can understand something written, 1,000 years ago.
Yes. It
You
makes it approachable
It really does.
for a high school student.
It's an awesome,
Yeah.
awesome option.
And so if your curriculum your coffee, you can tweak however
Yes.
to your needs and to the
Yes.
needs of your kiddos, right?
Well, it's such an important topic too because whether we like it or don't like it, the thing is,
We need to know what's going
we
on.
need to know it, and we learn so many lessons in history. I think that's the thing I missed in school is I realized later on, I didn't get a lot of those lessons until later, and then you realize that really helps to shape the future because what you know about the past
Yeah.
genuinely impresses you for,
Yeah.
I don't want to repeat that.
Exactly.
You're learning lessons along the way.
So it's not so much when it happened, but how it happened and why and
Yes.
what happened.
Yes.
Right?
The study of
Of it.
history.
The study of,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
this curriculum is so great, Humanitas especially, for the Socratic questioning. So what do we want our kids doing? We want them interacting with history. We want them asking those hard questions. Do I agree with this thing that happened in history?
Right.
Maybe I really
And
don't.
Then
and
you start talking about your rationale and all
Yes.
of those
Yeah.
things and
Yeah.
why you prefer the sea cove
right?
to the seashore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The critical thinking piece is important because if you don't interact with history, if you're not really considering what happened and what's my worldview about that, it's not doing you a lot of good.
Well, my
you know?
husband said you're doomed to repeat it. I think we've all
Yeah.
heard that before. Is that if you're not going to
Yeah.
learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
So we'd love to know what you're going to study.
Yeah.
With history or social studies or however you put it together. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give us a call.